guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. This is from a guy, he's sounds like he's about 23, 24, give or take, early 20s, early to mid 20s. And he's going to share his story about how when he was in high school, he met this girl who became his girlfriend for the last 2 years, junior and senior year, and he had a really good thing going. They were happy, she was cool, pretty, feminine, all that. Even his parents and her parents, they really liked it. They both liked the kids, and the parents liked each other, and they became friends. And then she went off to college. And then things changed. He started to notice changes in her behavior. He noticed she suddenly chopped her beautiful long hair. She started picking fights and arguing with him, bringing up words that he never heard her talk about before, like the patriarchy and things like that. And lo and behold, you're going to see she became a full-on, indoctrinated, angry as F-feminist. And can you guess where things went there with their relationship? Not too good. And eventually, he gets burned. However, you're going to see, guys, aside from the major learning experience he had, and once he got over his heartbreak, this guy perseveres. He doesn't dwell on it. He doesn't chase after her. You're going to see, ultimately, at the end of this story, this guy comes out on top. And for her, well, the story doesn't exactly end too well for her. So for you guys that have ever been burned pretty badly, you'll appreciate this. For you young guys that are maybe considering doing the long-distance relationship, your girl goes off to college or I don't know what, you might want to reconsider that because they generally don't work out very well. And also, guys, the lesson here, how important it is to focus on your purpose, how that's your top priority, because that's what this guy does. And he is kicking ass for his age. Let me tell you, it's a good, feel-good story, and you're going to have some laughs at some of the other elements to this because I don't want to reveal too much here. So it starts off, he says, "Hey, SSM. I found your channel after all this happened to me because I was looking for advice and a way to understand what happened to me, what happened to the girl I was sure I would marry. Please don't use my name or company. Thanks. Your secret is safe with me, bro." He says, "My parents have been married for over 30 years and I had a very good home life growing up. They truly love each other and I always wanted something like that when I grew up. So anyway, in my junior year of high school, I met this girl at a party. We'll call her Connie, not her real name, who went to a local private school, and we hit it off right away. She was in the band at her school, and I was in the band at mine, so we had a lot in common, and it is why we started talking, which led to dating, which led us to becoming official." He says, "I'm not an idiot, and I was always very careful, always wearing protection, always, though I didn't know the term, watching for red flags, etc. She seemed like the perfect girlfriend." How many times have I heard that one, guys? "And we dated our entire junior and senior year of high school. Her parents didn't like me very much at first, but her dad did admit later that I made her happy, and so eventually he warmed up to me. My parents really liked Connie. The funniest thing was that her parents and mine became really good friends and are still to this day." Well, that's something. You definitely must be from a small town. The same thing happened to my little sister. Her senior year of high school, she started dating this dude, and next thing you know, they're dating the whole year, and my parents and her parents, actually his parents were divorced, my parents became friends with both sets of their parents because it's a small town. Everybody knows each other. Kid you not. And, well, they got married. And to this day, almost 20 years later, they're still married, have a darn good marriage. They have a cool nephew, a cool son who's my nephew and all that. And so, but it was the same thing with the parents being friends. And that definitely makes things, complicates things if there's a breakup. Anyhow, dude, it sounds like so far so good. And now we're going to get going off to college, which I'm sure many of you guys can relate to, how things don't always work out the way you think. He says, "I'm not the best student and never plan on going to college. I started working part-time in a garage my senior year and started working towards getting my ASE certifications. Good for you, bro. My boss, we'll call him Will, was very supportive of that, and one of the mechanics, Jeff, took me under his wing. Will, Jeff, and I are still good friends to this day. Dude, having a great mentor is worth so much. Look at you're doing at such an early age. That's awesome. Already you found something you like that you're good at. That's definitely going to give you a good solid trade, and I know how the story ends, so good for you. Most kids at that age are just screwing around on social media and TikTok or whatever you want to call it, video games, and not taking anything serious towards their future. Like, oh, I'm going to college, and I'll major in psychology or something like that. No, this guy's different. He says, Connie, on the other hand, was a model student and honestly much better at music than I was. Music? Well, okay, you're both in the band. She auditioned for and got a partial music scholarship to a college about 500 miles away from where we lived, and I helped her out with some money for school. He says about $1,700 before she left. Smack. Bro, and I know you know this now, but guys, you should never be giving your girlfriends money. Never, okay? The only time it's acceptable is if you guys are actually married and you share expenses and all that. That's different. And even then, if things are really good. But just your girlfriend, let alone when you're that age, 18 years old, 19 years old, no way. Okay, she can come up with the money. You know, it's not your job. And again, what if you break up? You think you're going to see that money? Well, we will see, guys, if he sees that money ever again. He says, we were committed to staying together and making the long-distance relationship thing work. Yeah, how many of those usually work out? I did the same thing, and in some ways, some of the same things that happened in your story happened to mine. Not exactly, trust me, but, and by the way, I'll admit it, when I was young, I gave my girlfriend a couple times some money to help her out. Well, do you think to this day I've seen that money come back? Nope. This is why I tell you guys, I've made tons of mistakes, and this is why by me making all those screw-ups when I was younger, I can share the wisdom and my experience to help you guys out. So don't give your girlfriends money. She can find it other ways. Okay. Anyway, after our high school graduation and a very fun summer, Connie went off to college. I started working full-time at the shop after graduation. Good for you, man. I already got a couple of the certifications and was working hard towards the rest so I could get my master's certification, which was going to take a while, but I dedicated myself to it while Connie was away at college. You're a man on your grind. You're a man on your purpose. Awesome. Instead of screwing around all the time, you are all business. Good for you. This is how it should be, guys. I wanted to be able to make enough money to support us and propose when she graduated college. No. No. Do not go with that idea to propose after college. No. You should not be doing any of that stuff until way later. Even though you're kicking ass at a young age, if you're going to do it, which I don't really think you should nowadays, given how things are in the state of this world, at least wait till you're darn close to 30 years old. But this whole after college thing, she's still a kid, and you're still a kid. And I mean, believe me, you're a legal man now, and you're more of a man at 18, 19 years old than most nowadays people are in their 20s or 30s. But still, you're still young, got a lot to learn about and live and experience. So, two young guys. He says, we talked every night, sometimes for hours, and we told each other everything about our day. She was living in a dorm, and I was glad to hear that she had made several friends pretty quickly. However, I shouldn't have been. After a couple of months, our conversations had changed. Connie seemed like she wanted to get off the phone with me almost as soon as we started talking. Uh-oh. Remember, guys, you pay attention to a woman's actions, not her words. This is a perfect example. She cut her hair shorter. That was a big sign. That caught me right away. He says in parentheses, she had the most long, beautiful, brown, wavy hair up to that point, and her vocabulary started to change. I was hearing words like patriarchy, feminism, misogynist, and stuff, and it always seemed like she wanted to start an argument all the time. Does this sound familiar, guys? Does this sound like a certain type of behavior that certain gals that embrace this type of thing start to pick up? Picking fights, arguments, all these words, chopping the hair, right? These once happy girls that were pretty and feminine and likable, all of a sudden, boom, like that. They get indoctrinated. It really is a shame. And they're always angry as F-U-C-K. He says, when she came home for the holidays, she was like some sort of alien doppelganger. It looked almost like her, but she had completely changed the way she walked, talked, and dressed. I can only begin to imagine what her appearance looked like then. She just seemed angry and argumentative all the time. Yep, sounds like a typical one. This is a sad story when you have a gal that obviously was like she was in the beginning and descends into something like this. She just seemed very angry and argumentative all the time. She asked me for some more money for school, $1,000, which I reluctantly gave. Smack. Okay, now you're in the hole for $2,700 that you gave her, and I want to know, does he ever get this money back? Don't do this, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Don't give your girl money. She can get it some other way. She has parents, or maybe I have an idea. She can get a job instead of spending all her time going to protests and sitting around hating on everybody and bitching about the patriarchy. Maybe she can get herself a job and earn that money instead of freeloading off you. And by the way, here's another example, guys. When a gal is treating you badly, you don't reward her by doing nice things for her. She's backing away from you. She's picking fights, picking arguments. She's not the same person. Why would you give her money? And I get why a lot of guys fall into this trap, because if I do something nice enough and share how good a guy I am, then she'll go back to being the same way she was before. Then she'll love me more. Then she'll show more affection. It doesn't work that way. But dude, she's already changed so much. She's not the same girl. But I get you were with her for like 2 years before. You thought you were going to marry her, so you were kind of giving her a pass on how her behavior changed suddenly. But she's a different person. So at this point, this is certainly a good way, a good time to back away from her and end it, okay? And get your damn money back. When she headed back to her school, my dad pulled me aside and asked what the hell happened to her. My mom said maybe it's time to break things off. Yes, here's an instance when you should listen to a woman about relationships. Your mom is dead on. But he had to learn. He says, I know they were right. She was a completely different person and not for the better. I honestly no longer recognized her. I still held out hope, though, that she'd change back, so I didn't break up with her. However, our phone conversations went from once a night to twice a week, then once a week, and then the Valentine's Day call. When I called, a guy answered her phone. He asked who it was, and I said it was Connie's boyfriend. And he said, not anymore, dude. Then I heard Connie say, give me the phone. And then she just said to me, I'm breaking up with you, and hung up on me. Just like that. On Valentine's Day, I still hate Valentine's Day with a passion. Well, get in line, brother, because there are a whole lot of dudes around the world that hate Valentine's Day with a passion. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear that happen to you, man. And just like that. And by the way, okay, you're going to break up with me? Well, you can mail me a check for $2,700 plus the interest over the few months because believe me, I could use that money. Talk about heartless, okay? And who's this guy? Right? And sadly, he probably isn't the only guy. I don't know why. I'm going to assume at this point, she probably, even though she butched out with the hair and the attitude, she probably is still relatively thin, so she can still get guys. But wait till you see what happens to her in the future. But one of two ways a guy can handle the situation. Either go begging for her back, which a lot of guys do, or walk away. Well, our hero here handles it the right way. He says, I've heard stories on your channel and others on how so many times when someone finds out their girlfriend was cheating on them, they get angry, upset, depressed, etc. Some even want revenge. I like to say I reacted that way, that I didn't care that much, but I didn't. After how much she's changed, a part of me knew things were ending, and I felt nothing but sadness and more than a little relief. I think the only thing I was mad about was that she obviously was hooking up with at least one other guy before breaking up with me. I got tested. Thankfully, I was clean. Yeah, thank God for that. Thank God he had the good sense for protection. Yeah, you never know. She could have been hooking up with other dudes, but you know what? Who cares? I'm glad that you didn't fall into a deep depression or anything like that. Yeah, you know, because a lot of guys would, and it would be understandable because 2 years, when you're 18, you're 19 years old, and you've been with a chick for 2 years, that's a big percentage of your life, okay? It really is. I mean, I know what it's like to be that age and go through things like that. But you held strong. He says, I told my parents about us breaking up and the phone call and her having someone else in her room, I assume was her boyfriend. My parents couldn't believe it, and I found out later from them neither could hers. They had obviously noticed how much she'd changed and were concerned about her mental health. Hey, you know what? That's no longer your problem. Except that $2,700 you should have back. He says, for my own mental health, I just washed my hands of her. I went no contact, and she never tried to contact me again. That phone call was on February 14, 2017. I continued to work in the garage, focusing on getting my master's certification. I was determined to get it and take some college business courses on how to run a business because I wanted to open up my own garage. Awesome, bro. Exactly. Purpose. Great. Good for you. This is what all guys should be doing. I did the same thing. I decided I want to be a personal trainer. I had my own business doing something else. And I studied my ass off for 4 months, got certified, and I got a job working in a gym for 2 years, learning all the ropes, how it was done, finding my style and all that. And when I was ready to start my personal training business, I brought some clients with me, grew it, and boom, there you go. So you did kind of the same thing. That's the way to go. That's awesome, man. It says here, I saved all my money going on very few dates, just honestly not that interested in dating at all. About a year ago, I came across all the R-pill sites, like yours and many others, and pretty much watched every video you guys had ever put out. I also noticed watching several other channels as well. I understand what happens now on college campuses and see what happened to her. She fell under the influence of the college ephetus indoctrination, and she changed from someone I loved to someone I didn't even recognize. It still makes me sad sometimes it happens so fast. Yeah, in a way it is kind of sad. I mean, these young gals, these very young, impressionable ones, meet some of these types, and they just sink their claws into them, and then you can't tell me in any way, shape, or form these types, and I've unfortunately known a few, are really happy. Because they're usually, I've yet to ever meet a happy effeness. Ever. They always have a scowl on their face, and if they are smiling, it's usually because they thought they won some victory. They're always babbling on about some injustice in the world. They're always lecturing. They don't want to listen to anybody unless the person is telling them what they want to hear. Try arguing with a progressive. You know, they let themselves go physically because, God forbid, if they are actually a healthy weight, then they would be living up to some other person's beauty standards. So they usually gain a lot of weight, chop their hair, dress like crap, tattoos in their arm. You guys know the types. And they're just miserable. And as any wonder, they're alone. And the only ones that can stand them are their pets, whether this is their cat or their dog or their parakeet, wherever the hell it is. And these are once girls that probably were much different. And a lot of them just end up alone, and then one day probably realizing I threw all this away because of somebody else's idea and got me all fired up and worked up. It is sad in that sense, but you know what? These are adults. They make their bed and they lie in it, so it is what it is. Doesn't mean you got to suffer. Anyway, this past November, I finally opened my garage. I quickly had more than I could handle. A good bit of being overflow referrals from Will and Jeff, who are now partners because Will is semi-retired. I already have 2 other mechanics working for me, and I honestly need 2 more, but they're hard to find. And I'm making money hand over fist. One nice thing about the chip shortage, people have to keep their old cars running. Bro, congratulations on your garage, and I'm glad you're making money hand over fist. You're this age, in your mid-20s, and you got employees already. This is awesome, man. This is what I'm talking about on this channel. Okay, not everybody's bound to own their own business, but all you guys can do so much in your lives if you focus your energy and attention on that, as opposed to focusing on BS stuff or chasing girls and all that. Right here, real life example. He didn't let her bring him down. I'm willing to bet you he probably used part of her to motivate him to push forward. Now we're gonna see where her life. Honest to God, with the sirens. He says, now we're getting to the good stuff. He says, as far as Connie is concerned, last I heard, she's back home living with her parents. I don't know what happened, but she apparently never got her degree. She gained like 100 pounds minimum, has short colored hair, has no job, and is a raging, wait for it, effenist. I saw her briefly this past December at a party our parents both attended, and she came with them. I made the mistake of talking to her for a couple of minutes. Wow, she's a few cards short of a deck. Dude, I would not have talked to her at all after what she did. Not a chance in hell. The only way I would talk to her is I walk over to her with an envelope with a bill for $2,700 plus interest for all the years that when you lent her that money and you never got it back. And I'm talking about interest on the based on inflation, not the BS numbers the government always gives us on inflation, real inflation. So whatever that number is, pretty much double it. And that's the interest rate you're going to pay me for that $2,700. $2,700, you could use that to start your first IRA, invest in an index fund, money to start up your garage. I know I'm focused on that $2,700, but I can't hit home enough about that. But how wonderful is this? 100 pounds bigger, short hair, colored hair, miserable. Sounds about right. I lost any desire to get married now. I guess I'll never have a marriage like my parents. I don't think women these days, like these, from my parents' generation, still exist. Not much. Unfortunately, your age range, not a whole lot anymore. Marriage and relationships are a sucker's bet now. I'm a business owner, and no way would I put my livelihood in jeopardy. Divorce courts and family courts are stacked against men, and prenups routinely get thrown out. Women will baby trap well-off men for a guaranteed 18-year payday in a heartbeat. 50% of marriages end in divorce. Try 60. Women file for divorce 80% of the time and get custody, along with child support, in 90% of the cases. Also, 97% of the people paying lifetime alimony are men. You can easily lose everything you have and most of what you earn from that point on. Yeah, a lot of these stats and a lot of these numbers you're talking about are fairly accurate. Now, does this mean every single girl is going to be like that? No. But unfortunately, a lot are. And does this mean that if you got married and these things would happen to you? Not necessarily, but the odds are high it could happen. I mean, if it was 50-50, like a lot of these things are, is it worth risking that in today's world? Hell no. You can simply, if you one day want to do relationships, just do relationships. You have your place, you got your life, your business, your purpose. She has her place. You get together once a week, maybe twice on occasion. She'll always be fighting for you to commit more, but no, you don't do that. End of story. But doesn't sound like that is the least of your worries now. Make your business as much as it can be. Hell, maybe you start a second garage. Sky's the limit, bro. So he finishes up saying, so for the younger guys who watch this channel, don't get married. Don't let a woman move in with you. Don't even give them a place to keep your toothbrush. Use protection, always. Make sure you dispose of it yourself. For those few women who watch this channel, as long as you keep pulling this crap or allow it to happen, you'll continue to see fewer and fewer guys willing to take the risk. There's no upside for us. Men can't change the game alone. All we can do is choose not to play. Well, that pretty much sums up a lot, and I gotta tell you, the women that actually do watch this channel do agree with the things I talk about. I got my haters that watch it just to give me a thumbs down and say some rude stuff or whatever, but I found through the comments that a lot of the ladies that watch this, they actually can be classified as ladies, I'll give them that, and they don't like how things are going. They don't like to see what the damage of the feminist movement, they agree with what I talk about, or mostly. But, bro, that is a great story, and I'm so happy. I'm sorry you went through all that bullshit, but you know what? In a way, it was a silver lining. You learned this hard lesson young. Imagine if you were a lot older. And so, as much as I keep going back to that money I gave her, that was a small price to pay for the knowledge you gained. And that piece of crap is no longer in your life. She's somebody else's problem. But I'm willing to bet you she doesn't have anybody. She's alone and miserable, and the only people she has is probably people just like her, because misery loves company. And sadly, she might influence another young girl, and the cycle will continue and continue. But you're doing awesome. You're kicking ass. Good for you. Guys, this is what I'm all about in this channel. Bringing awareness and motivating you guys to be the best you can be. Go after what makes you happy, what you're passionate for, and hopefully maybe one day making a business out of it. Sweet. So, alright guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And guys, if you happen to be on Instagram or Locals, I know I've been talking about this for weeks now. By all means, check me out, Strong Successful Male, and join me. And also, guys, if you got any great stories like to share or articles, anything related to what I talk about, email me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com, and I'll definitely get some later on down the road. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.